Hey guys, it's Julian, and today I'm super excited to be talking to you about a question that I get a lot, which is how to do sound design using just stock plugins. And we're not even going to be just talking about Ableton stock plugins, even though I'm using Ableton. We're going to be talking about stock plugins in general, and just kind of like how you want to approach it to be able to get the sounds that you want out of them. And then I'm going to make a few sounds in this video, so whatever comes out, I'm going to be giving it away for free in the description. So make sure to check and get that. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because you can get it without a download gate. And yeah, let's get started. So the first thing I want to tell you right off the bat is if you try to make the same sound that you make in, say, Serum or Massive or the new Massive X, if you try to make the same sound you would have made in those synths in like Operator or Analog, even if they're working the same way, like say you were going to make an FM sound in Serum, so you make it using Operator instead, if you try to make the same sound, it's not going to work. You need to approach it differently. Instead, what I try to think of is it's kind of just like what sound I want, and then what synth I feel I could most comfortably make that sound in. Like, for example, if I want, like, something a bit more kind of digital and, like, bright sounding, I might use Operator because that's FM synthesis. And you can hear we can get that bright, kind of nice digital type of pad sound there. So it's kind of like that. And then the thing with the stock plugins is you just kind of have to figure out, like, the little secrets in them. Like, for example, with Operator, like, I love detuning the oscillators. That's something that I kind of learned that really adds a lot of character and texture to the sound. It's also another one that I use a lot here, which is putting, like, an LFO on the FM. Like, if we turn on this LFO here, already did that, we can just put that on the, if we put this destination B on the volume of oscillator B, it's like stuff like that. It's just about kind of learning the tools. In that sense, it's really not much different from using like Serum or something like that. It's just kind of a matter of knowing it. Now, the main thing here is that I think people too often are kind of discouraged by the stock plugins. Like, a lot of times people try to use Operator or Analog or something like that, and it isn't as quick to get a really cool sound out of it, so they turn it away. But really, the way I look at it is less like I'm going to use just stock plugins, and more just like these are just an extra tool that I have in my tool belt. And if I want a sound I can only make an Operator, like a pad like this or something, it's good to know how to use. So like, we'll turn on a filter there. I think a good way to do this would also just be for you guys to see me making a sound using stock plugins. There we go. That's cool. Let's put in some MIDI for that. Let's make a minor chord. Alright, pretty cool little thing there. So yeah, you can hear, like, this is the sound that you can really only make with FM synthesis. So again, this video is almost like a bit of clickbait with the stock plugins thing. Like, I feel almost less like I'm telling you how to use stock plugins and more just telling you how to broaden your horizons. Like I said, like, the stock plugins aren't bad. They are, trust me, the people who make these, the Ableton people, ImageLine, the Reason people, like, the people who make these stock plugins, they're not trying to make them bad. They're trying to make them as good as they possibly can be. And they are really good ones. Like I said, like, I love Operator. You guys know I love Analog. I love all the Ableton effects. It just, there's some kind of prestige with using VSTs or something like that, I guess. It's like, people just think, oh, I want a cool sound. Let me use Serum. But that's not always the case. So, cool. From here, I'll add, like, a bit of chorus. That's a stock plugin. To be honest with you, the reason why I started using stock plugins so much, like the Ableton stuff, in my videos, is because when I first started out, I wanted to sell my project files, but I realized that if I started using a bunch of plugins, it could be complicated because not everybody has those plugins. But if I use the Ableton stuff, everybody has the Ableton stuff. So that was really the mentality that got me doing it. I'm going to use the reverb here. Sounds cool. And this reverb is a good example also, like, people say the Ableton reverb isn't as good, but or isn't as good as, say, like a Valhalla reverb or something like that. But if you know how to work with it, it is going to be as good as those. Like, again, they're not trying to make this a bad reverb. They're trying their absolute hardest to make it really good. And you can hear if we turn that up, we can get a pretty high quality reverb sound. I mean, I'll compare this to like Valhalla Room, for example. You know, it's not like that is magically better. It's still just a reverb. This one's a bit longer than that one was. But yeah, like, I really feel like if you can get anything from this video, it's more so like, don't think of it as using stock plugins. Again, you need to just approach it from like, I'm gonna have the most broad set of tools that I can to work with. Alright, let's maybe add a bit of drum bus to this. Now, the other thing is kind of like just knowing how to process with the stock plugins as well. Like with Serum, for example, you can do a lot inside of Serum. Like if you look in here, you can filter your sound. You can then put it through all these effects. You can do a lot inside of Serum, and you can do a lot inside of Massive, pretty much any other synth you can think of. But with the stock plugins, of course, it's usually a little bit more bare bones just inside of the synth. Like, it's just synth stuff. There's no extra, like, reverb or anything like that on there. So, you just have to get creative with the processing. Kind of like this. Alright, sounds cool. Let's make another sound. I'm going to get... Let's go to, like, 130, because this one's going to be a bit more rhythmic. What key is this in? We're in G sharp. Nice. Okay, so for this next one, I'm going to make a 303 sound. So we're going to use analog for this. And I'm doing this because it's so different from the pad, so you can kind of see, like, a few different types of sounds. But yeah, it's the same thing, you know. I just kind of, like, I know analog has a really good sound for 303s. I use operator a lot for 303s as well. But I know analog has a good sound for 303s because of the way the filter is set up. It's very resonant, and it's got that kind of thing to it that you want for a 303. So let's take this. We're going to use one oscillator. I'll get the amp envelope here. And let's make a little MIDI pattern. This is also why I like using the Ableton stuff. Brain fart there. This is why I like using the Ableton stuff. Is just because it's so well integrated with Ableton. Like to flip through the synth, you just click on things here. And it's all like down here in the bottom. You don't have to do a bunch of extra stuff opening up 50 plugins at once. But cool. Let's make a little 303 pattern. I'm going to just make some constant 16th notes. Alright, there we go. And then we'll make these a bit shorter. Cool, and then we'll take this, turn off the release. Let's make this a band pass. Okay, there we go. Cool. So yeah, this is what I was talking about. It's like analog, the filter. Gives that nice resonant sound. Let's add a bit of distortion to it. I'll give it like an amp. Okay, cool. So from there, maybe a bit of drum bass. And some echo before the drum bass, actually. And cool, there we go. So again, it's like I almost almost feel like calling this like a how to use stock plugins tutorial is misleading. Like I said, like you see here, it's just that I know these so well. I mean, because I've made so many videos with them. But I mean, you could be this way too. Like you just need to sort of open your mind. And again, it's not that Serum or Massive or something like that sounds better, or it's gonna sound more professional, or it's gonna make labels want to sign your tracks, or anything like that. It's just most people kind of give themselves that tunnel vision and like only think that that is gonna work. But you can use stock plugins. It sounds great. I even use stock plugins in FL Studio sometimes. Like obviously the Ableton stuff is great, but even the stuff in there is cool too. Like 3x OSC stuff like that. Like yeah, it's just about kind of opening your mind, like I said, and just don't get stuck in only using Serum or Massive, because if you do that, you are going to be missing out on a lot of really cool stuff out there and a lot of cool sounds that you could have made. So that's me for this one, guys. As always, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said, you can get the project file and the MIDI and the presets that we just created in the description for free, so go ahead and check that out. And if you're on Patreon, check there, because you can get it without a download gate. It's available now. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.